Hey, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Sorry about that. Uh, I apologize. Me and my nose have been in a conversation the last couple of minutes, so sorry for the delayed start. I hope everybody's having a great day today. And let me finish my intro. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. My name is Digital Dragon, otherwise known as Luke, and I'm a 3D printing variety streamer here on Twitch. What does that mean, you may say? Well, it means we do everything from printer unboxings, like our X1 Carbons, to 3D printer build, full-up printer builds, like our Vorons over here, to beta testing and prototyping, like our box turtles up here, some hot ends that we've beta tested, and so on and so forth. So welcome on in, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day. I apologize for not streaming on Thursday, but I was sort of wiped out, and I was so wiped out that I took some meds and wound up taking Friday off because I was feeling like complete poo-poo. And as you can tell, I'm still very congested, but we'll muddle through. We'll muddle through. So I hope everyone's having a great day today. Hey, Pezlas, good morning. Good morning. How are you? Um, Hopefully you're doing well. We're going to take a short respite from the Micron build for a moment. I've just been doing some things off stream, not with Micron build, but with the Riff. I think I'm close to putting the top panel on the Riff. I do have Cinchless Homing working on X and Y, and I have the cartographer probe working. I swapped from the standard 128/64 display to Clipper screen, and yeah, just been doing some little tidying up on that. I think that was about good to go. What we're going to do today is we're going to work on building our Infinity Flow S1 along with the filament cutters. I'm going to need this for projects down the road. That's why I wanted to take a break right now and do that. And also just because with my nose and everything, I don't know if this is going to be a long stream. We're also going to talk about our channel sponsors, amame, KB3D, and of course LDO Motors, and just chat about our channel sponsors. And then we're going to chat about 3D Printopia, which is fast approaching. We got what, Liz? Just about 20 days before travel for most people. 19, 20 days before travel. So yeah, we're getting close. So with that all said, what I'm going to do is kind of pull out the parts here. We'll switch over to the bench side view. Yeah. And we'll go ahead and just, like I said, we'll pull everything out of the big box here. And we'll get ready for doing this little build here. Now, I did go ahead and get the largest size. So this will let me do anything from 1 kilo spools all the way up to 5 kilo spools with our rollers here. I do have somebody in the local area that's interested in seeing if they can find a 10 kilogram spool solution, and I'm going to check and see. I don't know if the Infiniflow will have the oomph to pull a 10 kilo spool or not. So we'll have to see. But we've got our 4 rollers here. We've got our 2 bases. And these are metal rollers, by the way. So these look 3D printed, but you know what? The end caps are 3D printed. Metal, this is most likely just metal tube, 3D printed insert with the bearings pressed in. So there's that. We've got the roller side hardware over here. I'm just going to dump this out and make a mess, because we're going to get ready to try and do the assembly. This is just the power cable. Hey, Hutch's Makerspace, how's it going? K2 Kevin, how's it going? So, yeah, we're gonna move off the Micron for today. Just simply one, because I'm waiting on parts. I've decided, rather than using my 3x2s JST connectors here and just running standard power for the fans, I did go ahead and order a set of similar thing, but it's 3-pin that will allow me to run the tacos. So, or at least a taco. So I'm doing okay. Like I said, I'm just dealing with some nasal congestion right now. And then this is the main part, which is dealing with our 2 extruder motors here. Looks like everything here is already pre-assembled, which is nice. So, yeah, you've got these parts all laid out. And what we're going to be doing is we'll be looking at the browser window here, or I'll attempt to be looking at the browser window. I'm looking at the browser window. Now you can see the browser window up there instead of my pretty face, which is probably better off for you all. So we're going to roll through the assembly guide here. What we basically got is all the info laid out here. We've got the front brace. We've got some other, these are some rubber pieces. Rubber pieces and various screws. Nuts, bolts, and we'll work on getting everything assembled. I don't know. Well, the plan is to put this on the Rift to be able to start doing some larger builds on the Rift. That was one of the reasons why I was building the Rift. And so this will give us the ability to run multiple spools, whether it's some standard 1 kilo spools that I have, like I've got case of ASA, case of PCTG, so on and so forth, without having to go and get large spools. But eventually I will be doing large spool stuff as well. So we've got an M2.5 Allen key that is in the kit here for tightening all screws. A ruler on the instruction card. So there's our Allen key, our thank you card with a link to the instructions and a ruler. So that's kind of nice. They gave you a basic millimeter ruler there. A couple of cut Bowden tubes. This will be for the outfeeds, I believe. And a cutting tool, not included, but funny enough, that looks like the cutting tool here, because looks like you put your PTFE tube and it does have the slot in here to guide your cut. So, and tube cutting guide. That's not included, but is included. Awesome. What's not included is the actual blade. That's a safety thing. We got the installation hardware. We've got all of our rubber feet over here. We've got M4 bolts. We've got some M3 bolts, some nuts, and all that. And the front brace. Start off by inserting the filament inlet tubes. Okay. We're going to take our 2 little tubes here and push it all the way in. Same thing on this side. I noticed that these should be going in down here, so we'll go ahead and insert these. All right. So how's everybody doing today? Liz, Kevin, you guys getting ready for 3D Printopia? We're basically going to get everything ready to go. We're going to place the nuts in the hexagon holes on the side and start threading the M4x10 screws in from the outside to hold the nuts in place. Place the nuts in the hexagon houses. Okay, so there are printed hexagon pieces here to put those nuts in. So we'll take our M4 nuts and the M4 bolts. We'll just hold that in place there, put the bolt in and get it started. Kevin, I'm going to ask, did Mukesh ever get hold of you and get you squared away, good sir? And if not, I do want to tell you that I know when he went home from his last trip back here to get all the kits ready to go out, his wife said that he actually looked pale and forced him to go on vacation and take some time away. So I haven't had much contact with him, but I am starting to see that he's posting again. So that means that he should be back off of his forced vacation. Okay, so we've got that side done. I'm going to do the other side as well. So 3D Printopia this year, the Dragon team will be there, and Digital Dragon 3D is going to be there, and we have a table on the main floor. We're going to be next to Ecovate 3D and right in the area of LDO Motors. So, yeah. Yeah, he was definitely, we'll say, burning a lot of things at both ends. Now we're just going to take our rollers, put them between these two nuts, and screw in our bolts. It's a matter of getting it lined up. Come on now. Hey, we found one side. I am planning, I'm going to have my plan is to have the Riff and the 0G Mercury build there. We, of course, will have the Micron build because we're taking that back to Zura, who will be over at the Princeps booth. And then I'm going to have the Prusa Core 1 with me because that's the one that was last set up and configured with my auto eject, so that we can get that up and running and people can see that printing in action. Hopefully K2 will have his going as well. I know you guys are going to be right down by one of the doors, so that'll be nice. You should have plenty of foot traffic. But to me, that feels almost like a double-edged sword. Like you're going to have a lot of foot traffic, but that could be good and bad. And Liz, I'm assuming you're going to hang out with K2 and Zombie? That was intentional. Oh, I figured it was intentional. Like I said, that is just kind of the double-edged sword because, yeah, you're front and center to everybody coming through, but that could be good or bad sometimes as far as being able, I don't know, just get up and move around sometimes. Hey, Eagle, how are you? You're sharing space with Zombies double wide? Yeah. 1 second. And speaking of Zombies double wide, I'm assuming the Zombie has the two 8x8 boosts. I'm just looking at the map and trying to gauge because I can't tell if I have an 8x8 or a 6x6. I know exhibitors are supposed to be 6x6, but I don't know if the exhibitors that got put down on the main floor are getting 6x6 or 8x8 at this point. So, okay, make sure the screws are going into the roller to prevent damage to the sides. Install the second roller using the same method as the first. We got that done. Now we need to flip it over and locate the tabs on the bottom. It kind of looks like this. You'll see there's just these kind of recessed tab areas here on the end. And we're going to take our rubber feet and just open them up and put them on it. Oh, man. These. Remove the red. Yeah, so they've got some 3M double stick tape on these sides that it wants you to take off. So this will probably be the most fiddly thing. Take off the red tape without adhering everything to yourself or letting it close shut on itself and sticking to itself. We're going to set it all the way down in there, pulling the sides apart, and then I'll let the sides go in, and that will let the tape adhere to the sides of the printed part. And we'll do this several more times because It's Saturday morning, and why not do weird little fiddly stuff that I was trying not to have to do. And good morning, Daddy Wazzy. How are you doing today? Jano, how are you doing? Jano, I see we're going to be near each other at 3D Printopia. You've got some great neighbors there. And Green Gates, so that's good. And also, folks, while I'm working on this, I just want to show off, if I can get my camera to do it. Look at those nice, pretty thick layer lines there. These are obviously printed standing up like this, but this is a decently thick layer line that they were, or layer height that they were using. Pretty nice. Yeah, they're pretty nice prints. There's a little bit of rubbage from being in the box and stuff like that on them, but overall, pretty nice prints. Pretty, like I said, pretty thick extrusion on the layer heights there. So we're just putting the rubber feet on here because this will help keep it from sliding and moving around as it's got, as it's getting spools pulled around on it. And once again, like your box turtles, your AMS, your CFS, and all of that should have the ability via software to do the infinite spool type thing where it when one roll ends, it'll go into the next roll of the same type. So if you've loaded in multiple colors, it will go from color to color to color. It will pick the next slot in the row. And there's our feed added on there. It'll just grab the next slot with the right filament type. It doesn't care what the color is. So that's on how you set it up. With this, you're going to be moving from spool to spool without any break. And the way that's going to work is it'll be pulling one spool through, and as soon as it detects the break of the one spool, it will immediately start grabbing from the other spool, and it will basically, through a little bit of a buffering system, keep it right up against the other filament, so that from the printer's point of view, it will just go from one piece of filament into the next piece of filament, and it won't do a break. Anytime you do that swap on like a box turtle or a AMS, CFS, anything like that, it's picking up the break in the filament, the end of the filament at the tool head. So it will stop, it will cut the filament, it will do a purge basically as it loads the new filament in to make sure that the nozzle's primed, and you still get the waste in the poop. So this way you shouldn't have that additional waste of poop when you're switching from one roll to the other. And the nice thing is, like, at least on the AMS, mid-print, if you're trying to add another spool in, it will not grab it and load that filament. Here, you're just prepping that next roll at the rear point back here, this extruder, and as it's needed, it will pull. So you finish the left side and it switches over to the right side. You can immediately put another 5 kilo spool here, connect it in, and keep going. And that will come into effect, I don't know, if I'm doing a rarely long, tall print on, say, the Optimus P1 that has a 600 by 600 by 1000 millimeter build volume. So 600 by 600 by a meter tall. You're going to go through a lot of filament. So having the ability to constantly swap out either 3 or 5 kilo spools is going to be nice. Especially since we do have a Blue Storm Terra hot end on order, so that we will basically, we're going to tubify the Optimus P1 because it had a volcano nozzle with a 0.4 it had a volcano heat break with a 0.4 nozzle, which on a printer with that large of a build volume, you just need to go thick and chunky lines, right? So we're going to put a tube in it with at least a 1, if not a 1.2 millimeter nozzle. And the easiest way to do that was to grab the Blue Storm Terra hot end, which is basically an all-in-one hot end. And we'll grab, I also did buy a Orange Storm Giga tool head so that we could grab the CAN bus board out of that and the fans, because that's what's needed for the Blue Storm Terra, which is an upgrade to the Orange Storm Giga. And that will let us really put some plastic through that other printer. Well, we're going to try and put it at full stride. We're going to try. That's the whole purpose of doing this upgrade, is to get it into full stride mode. But also that machine was, I think it was like 8,000 euro because it was sold in Scandinavia. It was a Scandinavian company, FebTop. There was a U.S. importer. There is a U.S. company that will support it, but the only way they will support it and give you any type of information since FebTop's gone under is to go into a support contract with them, and that wasn't happening. Okay, so we got all of our feet on. Now we've got our 2 side assemblies with our rollers. We've got our main piece here. We've got the front brace and our little T-nuts, our M3 nuts and bolts, and our Allen key. And it looks like, yes, we're going to come in through the sides here, directly into the metal frame, and that's how that's going to go in. Okay. Okay, so we're going to use M3 by 8 screws, and we're going to, like I said, go through the plastic side and into the threads. This is a piece of bent metal, and then this is a printed cover part over the top of it. So we're going to go into the threads on this piece of bent metal here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get one of these in there and push through, and that'll help me line things up. And this needs to get pulled back out because this goes through the thing. So we're going to need this out of the way. You go in there. You get lined up there. You started. This is a little bit harder because it's right here under the roller. Yeah, but Jano, how is your machine coming? Because you were working on a little bit of a brain conversion on one of your printers. How is that going? All right. Once again, we're gonna tighten it, but we're not going to really ugga it down because we don't want to snap the part and we don't want to strip the threads. And the reason I undid this is it's going to go through this bottom hole and then into the PTFE holder there. So we got that side done. This side, we need to make sure that we're going in the same direction. Hey, Palms 3D, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. This might be an interesting angle to get at. Awesome. There's our S1 with 2 side assemblies, aka rollers, installed. And now here's where you might be able to see we're going to bring the, let me go this way. We're going to bring the PTFE tube through that cutout down there. So through the cutout and then up into our extruder. So through the cutout and then up into the extruder. Make sure you push it in all the way so it's seated. The black line on the Bowden tube. There was no black line on my Bowden tubes, but that's okay. Now we've got the front brace. We're going to install square nuts in this front brace. And so on this front brace part, we've got a slot here and a slot here for T-nuts. We're just, or not T-nuts, but square nuts. We're going to drop square nuts in there. Make sure they go all the way down so that the holes line up. And I have a feeling that's going to go right here between these two parts. Yeah, drop the nuts everywhere. Yeah, and then it slides in. So we've got these little wing tabs, and they're going to get keyed into the printed part right there. So we take this, and they should slide in just like that. And drop that out again. You figure out which side, this side. Here, let me basically set it up like that. So that way I have gravity actually helping me instead of fighting against me. And we're going to come through this hole right here in the front part. Our screw's going to drop down in there. We're going to use our long Allen key. Get that screwed in. Same thing over on the other side. Okay, there we go. Now we have a Bowden tube here. This is going to go from the front and into whichever printer we're going to run it into. This will probably be, well, what I'm going to wind up doing, right? Because this is going to go on the riff over here, right? This is our riff. This is a 300 by 600 build volume. And what I'm trying to figure out now, so my umbilical here for the tool head is a little floppy. I need to strengthen this up a little bit. And then I need to figure out how to put filament in this. I really don't want to come in from this side because this is going to move back and forth. If I come in back here, then I have one long Bowden tube. So I may come in from this side or I may come in from back or from the front side. I haven't yet figured it out. But I think I want some type of swiveling Bowden tube coupler. Or maybe, like I said, I put one here and I have a bottom coupler that I can plug the Infinity Flow S1 into, and then it comes up and over. I just haven't figured it out yet. It's one of those things I need to work through. But that's what this is designed to go on right now, or why I bought this is to go on our bigger build volume printer here that's going to be able to do 300 by 600. Now there is a version of the riff that is 3 beds long, so it's 300 by 900. And all you really have to do is all your Y extrusions get cut 300 millimeters longer, and you'll need longer Y rails. But yeah, right now everything's up. Like I said, it is homing XYZ. I am doing Z tilt adjust. I can do a bed mesh. It's funny because if it meshes right over the seam here, it shows this like crater drop right in the middle, which is funny. But yeah. So, install the button adapter if necessary. No, we won't need that. And then once again, here's your button tube going in, and this would go out to the printer. And once again, this is in essence a reverse button. So coming from here all the way to either your button extruder or to your tool head, if you've got direct drive like I do here, needs to be a reverse button tube. So 3mm inside diameter. Okay. You can plug in the S1. Load filament, active sleep, empty, troubleshooting help. So before I do that, I do want to switch down to here. Whoop. Helps if I throw up that view. Actually, we'll go to the full view. So before we try and do any filament loading, we still also need to add in our filament cutter resources. That's the beta version, I think. Pretty sure I've got the latest version. We did get one of each type of screw and nut as a spare, so we'll throw those back in the bag along with our Allen key and our PTFE tube cutter. And our resource card, thank you card. So we have 2 filament cutters. We've got the Snap Fit Quick Mount. Snap Fit Quick Mount. The little top piece, the actual filament cutter piece itself, and some bowden tube. And we've got that times 2. We're going to insert the filament cutter tube into the cutter. And that goes in. What are you putting it into? This side? Yep. Down into this side. So what we're putting it down into is basically this blue piece right here. Right? We're trying to put it into the blue piece at the end of this. And this is going to be a friction fit. You want to make sure it's fully seated in there. And you're seeing me work this through the motion and making sure this tube doesn't come out, because that's what it's going to do. All right. Let me do that for both of these. So how's it going, Timor? Hope you're doing well, my friend. I don't know if it makes a difference which way tube is bending, but it seems to be working well. And the tube's kind of bending towards that back edge. Now we need to install the filament guide. You'll notice in this video that it's flat on both sides, where this is rounded all the way around, right? Let me pull this back up. So this is a straight kind of bulb cone shape all the way around. And we're sticking the tube in at the bottom. Make sure that you're pushed in there all the way. Doesn't really go in that far, but just make sure you're pushed in all the way. And try and hold your tube up towards the end so you don't bend or kink the tube in the process. And this is a friction fit, so do not go in, like if there's an obvious burr, maybe clean the burr out a little bit, but don't come in with any type of reamer or anything, because this is a friction fit. Okay, and that seems to be good there. Hey Shenanigans, how's it going? Welcome in, Waters. Your infection had you so feverish yesterday that you were dead to the world. Well, that's not good, but I feel you, my friend. Okay, then we need to install the snap fit mount. So on our thing here, we can see where our PTFE tube goes. So we need to make sure that that's the side that the PTFE outlet's on. And we start by putting the rounded over end here in that gap. And then we just roll it forward and snap. So put it in, roll it forward, and snap. Then we're going to install the cutter in the S1. And so this should, yeah. So this piece here is going to go right down over our stubbed PTFE tubes here. Just like so. Just like so. Resetting the system. So before loading, the blade mechanism must be reset manually. This is done by pushing the slider up until it clicks into one of the detent positions. So you'll see here, let me pull you guys in. So you've got one position, whoops. There's one position, and then there's the second position. All right? This is your starting point. So if it's feeling like there's a tangle as it's trying to pull the tube, it will pull this down, and when it comes down like that, it cuts the filament. That way, if you have a tangle on a spool, it will cut the filament, which will then detect that the filament ran out, and it will switch over to the other spool. And then that gives you time to come back in and deal with the spool that has the tangle on it. Okay? So if it's cutting too often or without any visible obstruction, then you'll move it from that first detent to the second detent. So this is the standard position. All the way up is the, if this is too sensitive, then you go all the way up. So I have them both in that first detent. Yeah. Sinus pressure, sore throat, yep. I got you there. So down is, it is cut, lift it up to reset and reload. You load your filament through there. You kind of see how that works. So yeah, there we go. We've got our system built. We need to plug it in. Now I can plug it in and test that it will load. But once again, I don't have a printer to install it on right this second. So other than just making sure that they'll preload in, I can't do much more than that at the moment. But like I said, don't worry, we will be putting this to good use, and I will give you all an update on this system and how it's working for me. I know various people have had it, and some people have had some issues with it. Hopefully, we don't have any issues. Um, but this is the first thing that I wanted to do today was just basically get this set up and get this in place. I guess we can plug it in and see if we get filament loading, right? We might as well. I don't think it pulls all the way through it. I think it just basically sets it at the beginning. So this does require power because once again, you've got two, whatchamacallit, two extruder motors back here. So you do have to have this powered up. You go there, stop moving. All right. We are powered on, or we do have power applied. We're going to flip the switch. Yeah, and we are getting lights on down here. Let's go back up here to the S1. Come on. There we go. So our indicators are loading, active, sleep, or empty. These should be red, saying they're empty. So let's, what do I want to do? All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to go down and grab a couple of spools. Is Tesla's here? Liz? Liz, are you here, Liz? So how you doing this morning, Shenanigans? All right, well, we're going to just stab these. Now, on the filament cutter, the other nice thing with the filament cutter is it works if the end of your spool is taped or if it's like bent into the bottom and it snags. So it's not just going to deal with snags, it's going to deal with filament that is taped to a spool or somehow interlocked to the spool. All right, so I just saw the light change and it's pulling this one through. Now the question is how far is it going to go? Probably a lot further because I have a feeling it's waiting to get a filament trigger somewhere. Yeah, when it reaches the exterior of the printer, the filament should stop moving, and after 10 seconds, the light will turn from green to blue. This means the S1 is in the sleep mode and will disable. Okay. So we haven't set up a printer yet. That was great. It loads. Yeah. It does load. But apparently we need to have something to actually stop it. You're unloading your truck right now. Okay, cool. So there you go. And with this one, when we install the next one, it should realize that there's something here and it just preps it. But for now, what am I going to do? Just, yeah. We'll snip that and store this roll. But once again, this is my 3D Fuel PCTG. And I'm really liking this material. And I'm going to be doing some more printing on it with some larger prints, hence why we get the infinity flow here and the yeah, hence why I got the infinity flow, and I've got a few larger printers now at my disposal with the Riff, the Optimus. Did you get a shipping notification, Waters? Did you get shipping notification? All right, I'm going to unplug this. Set this aside. And for giggles, we'll go ahead and turn the Riff on and let you all take a look at the Riff in action. Once again, I did put clipper screen on it. We swapped out the whatchamacallit, the standard screen for clipper screen. I did wind up putting another DIN rail in here to mount the electronics because I wound up having to swap all of the controllers out. Apparently there's an issue with newer versions of Clipper and some of the older boards. Like the older boards will just hang on a firmware restart. So what I've wound up having to do is swap out the SKR 1.3 and the SKR Mini E3 V3 with the SKR 1.3 and the SKR Mini version 1.2, which had stepper drivers that you actually plug in. And I'm now running SKR Mini E3 V3s both down here and on the back of the printer. So the one on the back of the printer is running the X motor and the two Y motors. And then the one down here is running all the Z's and the beds. But you will see, potentially, that we are set up and we are able to home everything. We're doing sensorless homing for X and Y. CFS versus ACE report. CFS at 200 plus hours, no issues. Mods to ACE continues test upgrades today. Okay, what mods? And are these mods being directed by Anycubic or by you just making mods trying to get better performance? Okay, so once again, the setup here is SKR and SKR. We're running a Nighthawk board for the tool head, and we're coming off of the USB pass-through down to a cartographer at the bottom. So we're running cartographer. I'm not doing contact. I think that's what they call their nozzle probing, because I do not have a nozzle scrubber on this. Okay. I currently do not have a place to do nozzle scrubbing unless I either move the bed forward and lose. So I've got 600 millimeter of range. These beds are 310 by 310. So I actually have 620 bed, but only 600 millimeters of travel, which means I don't have a position here where the nozzle is off of the bed surface where I could put a nozzle scrubber or something like that to scrub the nozzle. So because I can't scrub the nozzle, I cannot effectively do any type of touch probing or contact probing with the nozzle. Okay? So right now, I just did a home all. Now, I'm going to say home X. And you'll notice it is now home to X. It is now going to home Y. And it's going to go up in home Z. I do not know why it's homing all three axes when I literally told it only home X. And if I tell it to only home Y, it will home all three. If I tell it to home Z, it goes through and does all three. I don't know why my G28s are not working right. I literally have no clue. In order to change that, Waters, I'm going to have to redo all the printed parts on the X-axis. The X-axis is literally side to side, at 300 millimeters for the nozzle, right? So I would literally have to redesign all of the parts to give me more X travel in order to be able to do a wiper on the side of the X. Because once again, this is X, this is Y for this printer. Oh yeah. Upgrade number 1, new hot end. That's right, you went to the aftermarket all metal. Okay, how is that working for you? 2, added filament input tubes with compression fittings. And okay, and I've seen that change as well, that there are issues with the feed. Even though they've got those square kind of sloped wells for the filament feeder, I have seen people talk about, and I have had a couple of feeding issues myself. So they're basically going with the PTFE tube extenders, right? So good call there. Definitely interested in your feedback on those. We can do a Z-tilt adjust. It's currently configured for 4, and I have yet to get it to fully complete. For whatever reason, they had it configured to go, what I will say is motor, so 0, 1, 2, 3, standard pattern for a Voron, right? Front left, back left, right rear, right front. That's the standard pattern for a Voron. For whatever reason, they had it going this way, to this way, to this way, to this way. Which means your pattern is different than the wiring of your motors. So it's going to correct in the wrong order. Your point probing needs to match your Z0 to 1 to 2 to 3. Otherwise, it corrects in the wrong order. It corrects Z0 based on your first probe point. So it was correcting this motor height based on that probe point, this motor height based on that probe point. And then, yeah, so it was 100% flip front to back. All right, Monday from 10 to 2. Sweet. I am also in the process of, I started printing some parts for the stealth changer because I do have access to the purple. So I'm printing the purple parts. And my deviation is what was it, like 0.38? I can't really read it right here. Yeah, 0.380. I have not been able to get it down to like 0.0 something. I'm finally getting it down to 0.3, but I may have to sit here and do some manual tweakage on the actual, I don't know. I don't think my bed was flat to start with, and it's not getting there for whatever reason yet. You can see me for a Monday taco truck. Hold on, let me look at it again. It's been a while since I looked, so I need to lay eyes on it again. So it is getting better, but it's going down really relatively slowly. I don't know if it's a lead screw pitch issue, or what the case is here, why it's taking so many times to get this dialed in. Or maybe it's just the fact that it is a long bed. I don't know. Well, and we also have issues with the pulleys being not just live, but they can flow up and down too much. We need to actually build some spacers in. Yeah, and so we've got too many retries there. The retries are currently set to 4, so it only does 4 rounds. I haven't sped it up yet, so um, it does kind of go slow, but I find when you're doing your initial probing and trying to get your bed dialed in, going super fast is not necessarily a good thing. We'll change the retries to 8. I currently have my tolerance at 0.05, and my tolerance on every other one of my printers, whether it's the Rat Rig or my Vorons or the K3, is 0.005. So I'm not sure why I can't get this dialed in, but that's the frustrating part. Is I don't know. I don't think the bed is flexing at all. But on the front, the swivel joints allow it to swivel like this, where the back can swivel like this at the points. So these points back here are more akin to the standard Trident front mounts, right? The mounts up here have the ability to swivel like this. And I don't know if there's too much play like this. I don't think there is. But we'll see. Let me go ahead and do a home haul, and then I'll start another Z tilt. And because that's going to do an 8 time, I will mute you all so I can go and take care of my sinuses. But the blue lights that you're seeing at the tool head, that's actually the nozzle lighting. So that is working. Yeah, so let me kick that on Z tilt. And like I said, I'm going to mute you real fast while I take care of my sinuses. I also grabbed a Hershey's Kiss because why not? I also got a big package from Slice Engineering boride nitride, some nozzles, 2 hot end fans, thermistors, and heater cores. And you're like, why did you get all that stuff from Slice Engineering? Because I have 2 mosquitoes. I have a mosquito and a mosquito magnum. So heat sock for the mosquito. And I picked those up as part of a trade at Rocky Mountain this year. And so this gives me the ability to put those tool heads together because they came stripped of the heaters and stuff. They were just the bare hot ends. So this will give me no good parts to work from to rebuild those. And then I'll have a couple of more high flow options for orange creamsicle. We'll save that for later. A couple of more high flow hot end options. Not that I am hurting for hot end right now, but and then I have decided on my stealth changer. Sorry. I decided on the stealth changer I'm going to use X1 style hot ends for the stealth changer. And yeah. Exactly. I have the Rapido over there. I was thinking about using the Rapidos, right? And then I realized that most of the Rapidos that I have are in machines, so I'd have to buy like 3 more Rapidos for my stealth changer. And I just think of the cost, and I'm like, yeah, no. So I bought 2 more conchs from Betis. And then I've got the other 2 conchs that are clogged right now that I have to fix. Or worst case scenario, you know, I've got a couple of Pikas coming. God only knows what we can put in there. Hey, Royal Nomi, welcome in. And Bearded Printer, welcome in. How's it going? This is a true chat and chill. We built our S1 unit. So this is the Infinity Flow S1. It's going to allow me to run 2 5-kilo spools or anything up to 5 kilos. So we can do 1 kilo, 500 gram, 1 kilo, 3 kilo, 2 kilo, 5 kilo spools. And when one spool ends, it will automatically load the next. And I got this specifically for use with the Riff, which is a 300 by 600 build volume. And I don't know, I think I'm like 250 on the height, something like that. Once again, this is a design by V4 Projects. These files are available on printables, right? Let me pull up that link. Let's see if I can pull up that link. Here we go. What the heck? There we go. There's the link. And this is the project that I'm building. It's a 600 or 900, which means it's either 2 300 millimeter or 3 300 millimeter beds in series. This fits perfectly on pretty much one of these shelves here. So that's why I did the 600 versus the 900. I think I could put a 900 on there and it goes pretty much edge to edge. But I thought this was pretty good. Now I you know me. If I'm buying mechanical parts, I pretty much have all the mechanical parts needed to rebuild this. It's a 600 millimeter belt, or 600 millimeter. Wow. It is a 6 millimeter GT2 belt on the X and 9 millimeter GT2 belts on the Y because they're so long, right? If I were to build this in a 900 size, I would probably go from the stepper-on line motors to something with a little bit more oomph. Maybe not necessarily a Kraken, but a higher quality LDO motor with a little more torque and oomph. Sure, Waters, you just want to bake my hot ends. I will bring my hot ends so that you can bake them. And they will look pristine when they're done. So, how are we doing here? Yeah, we're really not getting better. Like 0.3 is kind of where I'm at, and I can't really get down into 0.2. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'll do a bed mesh as soon as this is done. And based on the bed mesh, I may go in and manually tweak some Z's. Now, the other thing I needed to do was I was originally using 7 millimeter standoffs. They're not exactly what you get with a Prusa, but very similar. This is part of my cheap Prusa builds. So, simple standoff. Now, that is a lot more than a 4 millimeter inside diameter there. So, there was a little bit of floppiness there. And what I found was I couldn't get the bed high enough before the Z-rods bottomed out, right? So I went and got 14 millimeter spacers and 25 millimeter long M4 screws to mount the beds. And the 25 millimeters were too long. Luckily, I had 20 millimeter ones, so we're locked down with some 20 millimeter M4 screws through 14 millimeter standoffs. And once again, the front and rear bed has a cross member like this. And then the beds themselves are mounted on two cross members like this. So you've got the ends going this way, and then across those ends, you've got other extrusions going this way. So it makes for a fairly rigid bed. And let me, for giggles, we'll need to home again, and then I'll run a bed mesh. Once again, I know I can increase the speeds on this. I just got this thing moving in the last 2 days, so I'm trying to let things break in a little bit before I start ramping up speeds. And I believe this is a 20 by 20 scan that I'm doing now. And it does two passes. So it starts in the front, goes to the back, and then turns around and goes back to the front. And I probably need to extend it a little bit more at the end. And yeah, I think that last pass that way was right over the seam. So this should give us a pretty bed mesh. And as you saw, I have plenty of room to come back more, so I need to change my bed mesh to be able to go back a little bit further. Okay, and you're gonna like this. So here's our bed mesh. Like I said, it scanned right over the seam, so that's where you see this big dip, because it catches right between the seam of those two plates. But as you can see, the front left corner is way high. Or excuse me, well, yeah, we'll say the front left and the rear right, or from this orientation here, the back left and the front right are high. So I'm going to come here to the dashboard. I'm going to whatchamacallit, turn off the motors, and scientifically adjust these slightly by hand. I'm going to do a save config, which will of course do a restart. We'll do a home, and then we'll do another Z-tilt adjust. Once again, the plan is to bring this, to bring the 0G Mercury build that we did, the Prusa Core 1 and the auto eject. I probably need to bring so Monday when I come down, Waters, make sure I go home with the auto eject. I've got to bring that in here and get it set up with the Prusa again and get it swapping plates so that we can, basically what I need to do is make registration marks, probably with just some tape, so I know where to set things up so it lines up when we get it to the booth at 3D Printopia. And while this does that, I'm going to blow my nose again, so bear with me. All right. And let's see, first round of numbers, where are we at? I made it worse. It's 0.081 now. So let's see if it can correct itself some and get it back down to a lower number. Either that or I went too far on something. So yeah, while this is running, let me get the S1 down here. And we'll pay some bills. So I'll let this run in the background. Flip over there and we'll come up here. So for those of you that don't know, I am now sponsored by amame. Amame is a great company that provides headphones either over the ears as the amame line or on the ears, which is the minamame line that sits on your actual ears and doesn't fully enclose it. They have they have three types of drivers now. They have the standard, they have their classic, and let me actually pull that up. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go, kit parts, here we go. So they've got their experienced drivers at a higher price point, the $130, precision drivers, and then the classic. The classics are sort of your daily drivers, great for your meetings and Zoom meetings, business meetings, the such. Your precision drivers are going to be for your audio files. So this is where you're going to get your really good sound quality out of. And both your classic and your precision drivers are 40mm speaker drivers in your headphones, where the experienced drivers, excuse me, your classic and precision drivers, your experienced drivers are the big boys. These are your 50mm drivers, and these are designed more around gaming and movie experience. Okay, you can get these with or without a mic. Be cognizant of your use case and your system. And the reason I say that, I have been driving, as I'm about to drop them, my amames for a couple of years, hence why they're loose. They've been dropped off the table for a while. So I've been driving my amames for a while. They're fully 3D printed. You get the electronics parts, you 3D print the parts, and away you go. I've been using these as daily drivers for my meetings for a couple of years now with the microphone, and it worked great with my Intel-based Mac. As soon as I switched over to my M4 Mac, the microphone stopped working because the M4 Macs only have headphone jacks. They do not have a headphone mic jack. So that's why I say, be cognizant, understand your hardware before you get the mic. Otherwise, you may have a mic that does you no good. There is a little fuzzy cover on this that I've knocked off. But these are great. We will be rebuilding these on stream here, probably a little bit after 3D Printopia. And I am also trying to, or not trying, I'm going to get another set that we will build as well. I'm going to get the experience set, and we're going to have a set to give away. So those are going to be some future content. But yes, thank you very much to amame for supporting the channel and supporting the channel. And we have links that'll come up if you do bang amame. We do have links in chat. Right? We do have an affiliate link out there. Please go ahead and use that affiliate link and or the code, and you'll get 10% off your order and support the channel. So thank you all so much. And with that, let's jump back over here to the bench side and see where we're at. Actually, let me go this way so we can see our display. And the latest range, it's trying to get better, but it's still not there. I told you I had the little puff ball for the mic. Yeah, I've really liked my head amames. Like I said, they are great for daily driver. I don't I don't use them to listen to music. I've got multiple other headphones, and I've got one specific that I wear when I'm out doing like yard work and stuff like that. Let me run this again. Actually, let's run the height map again, and we'll see how it's adjusted itself. I think these 2 points keep getting raised up higher for whatever reason, and I'm trying to figure that out. The other thing to remember is your pivot points or your Z position. So you have your Z position and your probe position. Your Z position is not your lead screw. Your Z position is the pivot point. So rather than being the lead screw back here, it's the pivot point that you've established on your bed mounts. And I'm curious to see, I have a feeling that we are it seems like it's taken, I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like it's still adjusting somewhat wrong. And I don't know why, so I need to double check all the measurements. And it might be beneficial to move my rear scan points back closer to the pivot point as well. I'm going to reach out to the creator too, because with these two having the spherical bearings like a trident, right? And then the ones up here having these front ones that allow it to do the bed to do kind of like this. I wonder if it's throwing off the, oof. Yeah, I overcorrected. I wonder if it's just throwing off the um, the scan or the adjustments. Yeah, so as you can see, now the opposite 2 corners are the ones that are high. So I kind of over adjusted. So I will stop the motors again and make a minor adjustment for these 2 motors to raise the bed corners up some. And then we'll give it a try again. And my probe points are set in the cartographer. Or no, not in the cartographer. Let me think. Yeah, 70 is about as far back as I can go because of the 27 millimeter offset to the back. So you have to go from your X max or your Z max, excuse me, the maximum for that thing, which is Y, which is 600, and move back in at least 27. So I'm going to go 30. That should get us a little bit further back. And then bed mesh. Not bed mesh, Z-tilt. Okay, that may be what's off. Give me 1 second here. Do a measurement. Yeah, as I'm talking about my pivot points, I have my rear pivot point set at what, 520, and it should be 625. Actually, 560 is where I have it, so it should be 625. Let's see if that helps any in allowing this thing to correct itself a little bit better. Yeah, so this is the fun part. Like doing the build is one thing. Once you get the build done, then you've got to configure it and get it tuned. And that's where it gets a little bit more fun, a little bit more frustrating sometimes, because now you're trying to get the mechanics of the machine to do what you want it to do. And it's just sometimes you got to chase things around. All right, so now let's do a Z-tilt and see if it can parse itself a little bit better. And remember, the probing point is not where the nozzle is, it's where the probe is. And that probe is about right here, right above the extruder. So it's just in front of the gantry. Or, yeah, the gantry itself. Not where the nozzle is. So our deviation is 0.322 millimeters. So that's already better in that first pass. Now let's see if it can correct it a little bit easier. Now that went from 0.35 to 0.26. So we're moving in the right direction. Let's see if that continues to go down. My fingers are crossed that we can finally get this licked and get a little bit better bed level here. And also, while it's doing this, let me come back here to the main bench view, and I'll move you around some. So as you know, we've got our two Vorons over here. Iron Dragon over here in the corner is our Trident. This is going to get a rebuilt box turtle. So the box turtle is going to get torn down and rebuilt with the latest LDO spec and box turtle spec. So I'm going to reprint all the parts so that it color matches the fluorescent red and the old copper. And it's also going to get the enclosure module for it. So this will have an enclosed box turtle on this one. And we're probably going to also swap out the Polymaker for the Jabberwocky over here. Then Fey Dragon, which is our purple and pink one here, is getting the Stealth Changer build to it. So we're going to lose the box turtle on here. It'll get an extension to the top of it, so I'll have a top hat added to it. Hopefully there's enough room between that and the ceiling for that top hat. And this is going to become a 4 tool head tool changer. I decided I'm going to use ant heads, which is what we were doing on the Micron build. So this kind of look and feel on the different extruder or tool heads, right? They're all going to be running Nighthawk tool head boards. Like I said, they're going to run the P1X1 style hot ends in them. They're all going to be Fadus hot ends. And then we're also going to be putting the clicky clack door on it that I've had for like a year. So I did go through and print the actual parts for clicky clack, but because we're doing the Stealth Changer, we're also going to need to bump out the door some. So we've got the parts printed that'll give us a 20 millimeter bump out on that. So that'll probably be the first mod that we do over here, is add the clicky clack door and make sure that that's installed and working before we go ahead and do the rest of it. But yeah, we're going to be doing a lot more work on this. It probably will not happen until after, actually it won't happen until after 3D Printopia. Now we might get in and do the, or I think we're going to do the clicky clack door install. Like we'll do the door buffer and the clicky clack install before 3D Printopia. But the bulk of Stealth Changer is going to be done after Printopia. There's just too many things going on between now and 3D Printopia. But soon we're going to have this back up and running, this back up and running, and these two back up and running. And let's just say we're working, me and Mrs. Dragon are having some conversations right now, and we're working on some future plans for Digital Dragon 3D LLC, which is my company. We are going to set up a, we are looking for office space. I'll put it that way. You're going to head out? All right, Waters, go take a nap. I probably won't be too far behind you. We'll go a little bit longer. Looks like we're still at 0.249. So we're not making good progress on getting any lower. And here's the thing. I don't know if it's a, I don't know what the limits of cartographer are, right? This is my first time using the cartographer probe. I would assume, being an eddy current probe, that it would be able to get down to the same thing that I'm getting on Beacon, which is getting down to like 0.005 deviation between the 4 points. Once again, this is the largest bed that I've done, so I don't know if I don't know if that's just an issue that you're going to get a larger deviation over the larger size bed, right? I mean, it would make sense. But yeah, this just might be the better or the best that it can get. I would prefer to be able to get down into a 0.2 or 0.3 bed mesh rather than the 0.7, but I think that gap right in the middle is throwing it off some. Or at least the deviation number off. Yeah, so 0.24 is where I'm at. And I haven't really been able to get down beneath that. I'll get with V4 Projects and see what he's been able to get on his things. And like I said, with doing the bed mesh, I think the bed mesh numbers are going to get skewed because of the dip when it picks up in the middle of the bed, right? And once again, before I start this bed mesh, my bed mesh is set up for 20 by 30. So I did, oh wait, 2030 is the min max. Probe count is 3030. So let's change this up a little bit on the um, yeah. I'm going to try and change the probe count just a little bit to see if we can get it to skip probing right over the gap. We'll see. If we can get it to skip probing right over the gap, that might help out our numbers. And once again, with the beds being two separate beds, it should, based on the configuration, it should be able to, or it should enable us to only turn on the one bed that that we're using at that time. Right? If the part is only fitting in the one bed size, we shouldn't have to heat up both beds. So I might have to give it like an odd number instead of an even number. It still hits that gap with it. With any even number, I think it's going to hit that gap. But it looks like our four corners point 3, point 1, point 3, 0.84. So these two corners are high now. Well, that's rather annoying. It still picks up this, but it's 0.3 and 0.2, so it's picking up that gap, which is giving us the such a large range for the deviation. So I think what I need to do there is cartographer. We're set up for a 20 by 20. I'm going to do like a 21. I'm going to do an odd count on the Y and see if I can get it to break or do a pass not directly on that line. Yeah. If we can get it to not scan directly on that line, I think we have a good shot of getting a lot better looking bed mesh. I'll probably make the bed mesh go a little bit faster here. Hey, there we go. We're not hitting that big gap. We get a little bit better. So we're still getting a dip in the middle there, but overall we're getting better. And the dip in the middle could just be the fact that it's bowing under some of its own weight, right? And part of my thought process was, instead of getting larger standoffs, do I cut 20/40 and do a 20/40 vertical underneath the bed? I'm going to lose Z height doing that, even more than I did, because I just increased 7mm on the standoff, so I lost 7 more millimeters. But I'm now doing 20/20 plus 17 or plus 14. So I'm at 34 millimeters offset now. So I would lose another 6 millimeters to put 20/20 cross members here. But I think 20/20 is going to be a lot more rigid and stand less sag in the middle, because this could literally be sag right in the middle, right? Or it still could be close to the edge and picking up the divot roll off between the two beds. I mean, they're as close as I could get them. I can't close the gap any more than that. But that is still coming up with a big sag there. Let's try. What if, rather than going 21, what if we do 19? Because that should open the gap up more between them. Or between the passes, it should open up more. And I'll double check his V4 projects setup again to see what he was setting up for the number of passes. And I'm not sure what probe he was using, if it was a if he was using like a Penda or anything like that. .6. So we're getting a little bit better because it's the number of mesh points. We are getting a little bit better. We are getting that sag in the middle still. So if we drop it down another 2 from 19 down to 17. I guess while we're up here, let's increase the speed. Because why not? Now with the calibrate, and I doubled the speed, so it should hopefully go a little bit faster. All right. We're still down to a 0.6. We're still getting that dip here, and that seems to be on the left side more so than the, like it's off. Well, no, it's about right in the center there. So I really am wondering if it's picking up that dip still. We still have a little bit of offness, of course, but that might be as good as we're going to get on this big size bed. But that's something that I'll still continue to play with over time. Yeah, it's just going to take some time. But folks, I think this is where we are going to end it for today. Like I said, we're taking a break from the Micron, just needed to take a break. And like I said, I've been working on the riff off stream, trying to get this up and running. And now we're up and running. I did have to make some customized parts for this build, which was an interesting thing. I am going to make those parts available as related to. I'll put them out on printables and link them over to the riff itself. But thank you everybody for hanging out with me again today. Let's head on out. Let me see who we have today. It's 12:30. I think we're still a little bit early for Jerry's stream, but Jano's, oh, there we go. I didn't even think. It's Jano's anniversary stream. Goodness gracious. I knew there was something going on today. All right, folks, we're heading over to Jano. I'm sure most of you are probably already over there. Let's head over and give Jano a big happy 5-year anniversary of streaming here on Twitch. I believe he's got a lot of giveaways going today as well. But he's a great person, a great member of the community. He does a lot of lighting projects and really cool print projects. He's going to be at 3D Printopia this year and have a booth, so please go check him out as well while you're out there. And thank you, everybody. You have a great day. Stay safe. Bye now. And for those of you that are watching this later on YouTube, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you like the content, please hit the like button down below. While you're down there, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Be sure to click that bell so you get notified of future videos. Visit our channel sponsors. Affiliate links are available. And YouTube's going to be suggesting a new video right over here. Have a great day, all.